Yeah. No, I had a good flight. Yeah, I look forward to meeting everybody again, and I should be flying back in about a week. So thanks. Yeah, thanks for the opportunity, and I look forward to working with everybody. And I've assured everyone that any help they need, we're gonna make sure they get it in terms of hiring extra help and stuff. So I appreciate that. All right. I'm sure we're gonna do some great things. All right. Thanks again. All right. What's up, guys? I just flew back from Charlotte, and I was just hired by 704 Games as Director of Game Development. So I flew out, I met with the team of developers, the guys who actually work on the nuts and bolts of the game, the art rendering, the sound, the programming, all that stuff, the actual developers. So we had a team meeting. I introduced myself to everybody, and I laid out uh, my blueprint for what I want them to do in terms of development of the game. And they've already started work on NASCAR Heat 3. And now I'm going to explain to you what happened. All right. So we had the meeting. I sat down. I introduced myself. And I laid out the blueprint, like I just said. So I'm going to run down the list, what I call the blueprint of everything I want them to do and work on to implement in the game. Now, obviously, uh, there's time constraints and there's a budget, so we have to keep things realistic. And I believe that we did just that. I started off by uh, letting them know that I think they're very talented. I think they showed a lot of promise. The NASCAR Heat 2 was a big improvement over the first game, and I've seen enough to know that they definitely have talent and ability. And the issues that the game has, or at least the franchise as a whole, are more related to direction, which is why I was hired. So I'm basically there to direct them and let them know what I want. In other words, I'm sort of the architect. I've drawn up a blueprint. Now, these guys are the carpenters, the electricians, the plumbers, the mason workers, everyone involved with the actual construction of building something. So I don't necessarily know anything about that stuff, but I'm there to tell them what I want done. It's their job to make sure it happens. So I expect them to be can do people, not I can't do this. So uh, the first thing I went over is the sound. Um, I want the spotter to be more active, much more busy, give you pertinent information. And there's going to be a slider so that you can make them chatty, or if it's too chatty for you, you can put it to a less chatty position, or no spotter at all if you choose. So that's going to be up to you. Um, there's going to be commentary throughout the game. There's going to be better ambient sounds. You're going to be able to hear the crowd more. And last but not least, the most important thing is the sound of the cars are going to be authentic. So we're going to make sure that we get the cars to sound authentic, the way they're supposed to sound. They're going to sound perfect from throttle, off throttle, braking, all that stuff. The cars are going to sound genuine. So finally, we're going to get a proper sounding NASCAR game. Then there's the art direction. The people that work on rendering the game and stuff. We're going to make graphical improvements. Now, obviously, we're not going to wave a magic wand and make this stuff happen, but there's a lot that can be done to polish up what's already there. We're not going to have graphics that are going to be mind-blowing, but I don't think the graphics are the worst. There's room for improvement. We're going to try to work on adding HDR, and that should help improve the contrast, the shading, the lighting. All that stuff is important when it comes to graphics. And another very important aspect of the graphics and the overall look of the game, we're going to add content and, most important, detail. So there's going to be a higher level of detail to everything. The game does feel bare bones, and it looks bare bones the way it is now. That's not going to be the case anymore. We're going to go through what's already there and add detail. For instance, the pits are going to be full of life. There's going to be all kinds of people behind the pit wall. You're going to have your pit crew. You're going to have your crew chief on top of the box. You're going to have people going back and forth to and from the garage with tires. Those guys you see with the bringing sets of tires to the crew. You're going to see that in the background, and you're going to see other miscellaneous people, including the NASCAR officials. So the pits are no longer going to be dead and empty. They're going to be full of life. You're going to see the pit signs hanging over the wall. We're going to keep it where when you enter the pits, the game takes over. We're not at a place yet where it's realistic to think we're going to have the ability to drive down the pits and control everything. So we're going to keep it where it's a linear experience. The game takes over. But that's also going to give us the ability to fill the pits with life. It's going to be busy. It's going to be realistic. It's going to sound authentic. You're going to hear the pit guns. You're going to hear everything. Also, as you come down the pits and you select your adjustments, your crew chief's going to come over and over your headset, and you're going to hear him give you feedback. When you say you're going to lower the wedge, a full round or something, he's going to say it. So the audio in the game is going to be much more dynamic, involved, and when you make these selections, your crew chief, you're going to hear him talk to you. So that's just one example of the level of detail that is going to be added to the game. Also, other parts of the track, they're just going to go through it and add more detail. So we're going to build on what's already there. Okay. Also, we're going to have day-night transitions. You're also going to see, the track dryer and stuff like that. That's going to be part of the presentation. You're always going to have the ability to skip any. These are like mini cutscenes and stuff. You're going to have the ability to skip forward just by hitting X, and it'll just move on to the next thing. So you don't have to sit through all this if you don't want to. But it's going to add a lot of detail, and that, I think, is going to make the game look a lot better overall. So that's what I've directed, and that's where the direction we're heading in. Career mode and structure. We're going to have contracts. We're going to have team building. Okay. There's going to be an auto crew chief who's going to kind of interact with you throughout your entire career. He's going to work with you even when you're involved in contracts and stuff. He's going to be like your buddy. Like in the old school games, you were always in touch with your whatchamacallit? Oh my god, I'm having a total brain freeze right now. The guy that handles your contracts, your agent. Sorry about that. But it's going to be more, you're going to interact a lot more with your crew chief. He's going to be like your buddy. And you'll interact with him throughout the game when you're dealing with contracts, sponsorships, commercial endorsements. That's all going to be part of the game now. The most important stuff in the career mode and the presentation is going to be that you're going to have pre-race and post-race commentary and presentation, more content. You're going to have the gentlemen start your engines, or drivers start your engines. You hit a button and the car is going to fire up. So, and when it fires up, if you're using a hand controller, it's going to vibrate just on startup. If you have a wheel, it's going to vibrate on startup when you fire up the engine. You're going to hear the crowd roar. You're going to hear the engines fire up, and it's going to sound authentic. And then once you drive out to the track, the commentary, you're going to hear the commentary. It's going to be a television style presentation. They're going to go down the lineup. They're going to talk about you. They're going to talk about where you qualified, where you're starting, what place you're in the standings. If you have rivalries, or you had an incident the week before, something like that, the commentators are going to talk about that. Same thing post race. If you win, yes, you're going to do burnouts, and you're going to drive back to victory lane. Once you enter victory lane, the presentation's going to kick in. You're going to be interviewed. No matter where you finish in the game, there's always going to be an interview after the race. You're going to answer maybe 2, maybe 3 questions. Depending how you answer the questions, it may affect your sponsors. If you want to be a bad guy type of, or a guy who answers inappropriately, that can affect your sponsors. Also, you can answer in sort of be a milquetoast good guy. So everything's gonna be tied in. Also, if you have rivalries, if you got into any of your rivals during a race, there every once in a while. It's not always gonna happen, but it'll be something that just happens sporadically. You won't be able to predict it while you're having an interview in the pits post race. A driver may approach you, and there may be a shoving match, and you'll have those type of interactions. That'll be part of the presentation. The commentators will talk about how you finished and what place you are in the standings, and what's the outlook for your season, and trying to make the playoffs. So that's all going to be part of the presentation. Pre-race, post-race, all that good stuff. Let's see. Of course, the handling, the physics are going to be improved. They're going to work on what's already there and keep working on it. So the programmers that work on that, they're going to continue to work on that and make it better and improve on it. The AI is going to spread out more realistically. After the first 2 or 3 laps, those cars are already going to be noticeably spreading out, just like they do in real life. Also, the pit strategy of the AI is going to be fixed. Okay? The caution's going to work better. There's going to be caution replays. When there's a caution, you're going to see a quick replay of what happened. Of course, you'll be able to skip that with the press of a button. All the presentation in the game will be, you could be able to skip it by just hitting a button if you don't want to see it. So the pit strategy is going to be improved. And last but not least, the difficulty of this game is going to be increased. It's going to be hard to win races at the top difficulty. Okay? If it's too hard, you just tune the game down. You always have that option. But at the highest difficulty, even when you have top equipment, it's going to be tough to win. You're not going to be able to just come in and dominate, no matter how good your car is. So it's going to be a struggle. You're going to have to make the right adjustments. And your crew chief is going to help you with that. They're going to be more interactive, and they're going to talk to you. They're going to make suggestions and stuff like that. Also, in practice, your crew chief is going to help you with your car setup. He'll ask you questions, and depending on how you describe the car and depending on your speeds and stuff, he's going to make suggestions and help you set up the race car so you're not completely lost. It'll help guide you through the game. You will have the option to work on your own setups without an auto crew chief, but the crew chief is going to be there like it is in Project Cars 2, similar to that, but more interactive, a little more dynamic. So it's going to be more fun to actually spend time in practice, because the crew chief's going to be involved, and you won't be completely lost in trying to set up your race car. And it's going to matter, because you're going to want to set up your race car, because without a custom setup, you are not going to be competitive. You're not going to get a top 10 without at least working on the setup to some degree. Okay? And I'm talking about at the highest difficulty, on legend or something. So that's the way it's going to work. You're going to have a track map, okay, like we used to have. Um, there's going to be, all right, the damage to the car is going to be visible. Like if you beat and bang with other cars, you may get a tire mark on the side of the car. You'll get scrapes on the car. The car isn't just going to look brand new because you did repairs on it. So there's going to be visible damage throughout the race. Okay. Now, in terms of online, we're going to improve the stability of the online. Stability is always something you can improve on, and we're going to continue to improve on that. You're going to have the ability to run leagues, and people can sign up. So once you're part of a league, you can set up this any schedule you want, any length, any amount of races. You can have stages or no stages. You can have everything is going to be supported by the point system, of course. Um, so you're going to be able to run leagues and custom schedules. Okay, another option we're adding is a ghost lobby option. Just for those of you who want to race and not worry about other people wrecking you on purpose and all the trolling that goes on, you can have races where there's no contact. It's not the most realistic thing, but it's just an option. Okay, and maybe you just want to see how you stack up against other guys. You know, there's still some challenge to that, and it's just an option. It's something we can throw in there, no problem. Another thing about the online, you will not get stats for running races less than 25%. No stats for you. Okay, you want to build stats online, you have to run 25% races or longer. If you quit in the middle of a race for whatever reason, okay, you're going to get DNFs. Okay, that'll count towards somehow to your rating. We haven't figured that out yet, but I'm open to ideas. But you're not getting stats. You have to run 25% or longer or for online if you want stats, because I think that's going to incentivize people to run longer races and probably get more involved in clean racing. That's what I believe. And I don't think getting stats so far, it just doesn't make sense for these quick, short sprints. So we're doing away with that. We're going to 25% or more. That's the way it is. That's the decision I'm making as director. And I do think that it will improve somewhat the online experience. Okay? So those are the things that I've directed to my team. I've also assured them that anything that they have an issue with, that we can hire extra help if need be, and we are looking to doing that, because in order to make all this stuff work and happen and make sure that we can test this thoroughly so that when we release the game, everything works as intended and we don't release a product that needs a ton of patches, right? So we need to spend more time on testing. So we're hiring some extra help. The budget is not unlimited, obviously, but when you make this kind of investment in a product, at some point you may have to step up and spend a little more than you intended. And we want to make sure that we support our developers who are working very hard to make all of this happen, that they get the help they need. So we're building on the product that's already there. I do think that it's buildable, and that's what we're doing. This is what you're going to get. Last but not least, there are a few things I have in store for the future. It's not realistic to make this stuff happen now, but for future projects to add to this franchise, first, face scanning, like you see in NBA 2K. You're going to be able to scan your face at some point when you make your custom characters, and it's going to be part of the paint booth, which you're getting this year, a paint booth, and it's going to be a lot like the one from Technics, which worked very well. It's going to be more user-friendly. You're going to have more options, more sponsorships. and you're going to be able to customize your own fire suits to match your paint schemes and stuff like that. So you'll have a lot of fun just in the paint booth. And when you go online, everyone's going to be able to see uh, the cars that you created, your custom cars, and it's going to be cool. There's also going to be pre-rendered templates for those of you who don't want to make your own paint schemes. We're still going to also have sort of like the template system that's already there. We're going to add even more templates, more custom options. So that stuff's all going to be in the game. But for the future, we're going to have face scanning. We're going to bring retro cars and tracks. Okay, a lot of people want this stuff, and I think it would be awesome to be able to race in these tracks that are no longer part of NASCAR. A lot of them are abandoned. Rockingham, a lot of places like that. Also, uh, old school cars from the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. Now, of course, that's not something you can just throw in. There's a lot involved in terms of getting the licensing and all that stuff. So that's something we have to work on. But whatever it takes, nothing is impossible. And we have a can-do attitude here at 704. We're going to find a way to make it happen in the future. So that's definitely on the plate for the future. And last but not least, VR support. Other games like Project Cars and Assetto Corsa and even Gran Turismo Sport, they all support VR. Anyone who's ever used VR knows how awesome it is. It's practically tailor-made for race games. And we want to make sure that in the future we have VR support for NASCAR games. I think that would add a whole lot to a NASCAR game in general. And so that's in for the future, and this is where we are right now. And as the new director of game development for 704, this is the blueprint I've laid out, and I've made sure that my team understands that this is what I expect them to make happen. And any help they need in terms of if we have to hire extra people to make sure this stuff happens, we're going to have to step up and do that. But this is my decision, and I do believe that this is what will make a great NASCAR game, the type of game people have been waiting for. And I do think that all of this is doable. I think it's realistic. A lot of these things have been done in the past. These consoles are much more powerful than these older consoles and are capable of so much more, as we've seen with games like MLB The Show, NBA 2K, all these other games with really deep, immersive career modes. Okay, and I forgot to mention, we're also going to have trophy rooms, and that's going to be part of the team shop, which is going to be a vital part of the game, where you have your interactions with your crew chief and other aspects of the game, and signing contracts, and getting sponsorships, and dealing with sponsors and fans as well. So that's all going to be part of the game. And I want to know, what do you guys think of what I've laid out for 704, the developers, to work on and make sure that it happens? I want to know what you guys think. And obviously, this isn't really happening. I just wanted to put out there sort of what I would do if I was director of game development. What I would ask. Now, I've already done a wish list video, but I think, in all honesty, I've said this before, the real problem with NASCAR games since 2011 is a lack of vision, is a lack of leadership. I think that these developers, the guys I'm talking about, who actually work on the nuts and bolts of the game, who render the game, who program the game to make everything work, the guys who do the actual building, the construction workers, so to speak, I think they're talented, and I think they've done a decent job under the circumstances. And I think that the real problem has been that the decisions made as to the direction of this game, what is expected, what this game is expected to be, the blueprint that's been laid out for them. I think that's the weakness that we've had with these games. And if you give these guys the right direction and you tell them what you want, and these are the things that we want in the game, I think they can make it happen. And it's not easy. I don't know how to program or do any of that stuff, so I'm not pretending to know how it happens. But in terms of leadership and direction and vision, you have to figure out where they need help, and if they need extra people in there helping to make sure this stuff happens on time. Because yes, there are time frames for this stuff to happen, and deadlines that have to be met. So if it takes spending some extra money and investing it and hiring more help in people that understand how to make some of this stuff happen and helping the people who are already there, right? It can be done. This is the third game coming, and quite frankly, we are way behind. So if I was quote unquote hired, that's how I would approach it. So I know there's people out there that are going to say this fucking guy's out of his mind. Listen, I'm taking a lighthearted approach, right? Obviously, there may be a lot of flaws in a lot of the stuff I said. How realistic is this stuff? I don't know, but I don't see anything here that can't be done. And I think it's just a matter of direction. It doesn't feel like they understand that this stuff needs to be in the game. So my hope is that somebody along the line sees this stuff and says, this actually sounds like a good game. This actually sounds like something we should be working on. And maybe, who knows. And I got inspired because I see a lot of people right now doing wish list videos. And I kind of wanted to take a kind of different approach to it and do a what if, so to speak. What if I was hired as the new director of game development? This is what I would lay out as my blueprint. And I would expect the team to make it happen, right? It's their job to figure out how to make it happen. And if they have problems, it would be my job to make sure that they have the tools they need and the help they need to make it happen. But these consoles are powerful. They're more powerful than what we used to have. And these ideas are not something that requires anything special. And I do think that the current game engine is good enough. And they've been using this game engine for a couple of years now. They know their way around it. I wouldn't rebuild the game or start from scratch with a new game engine. At least not yet, till we get a new console generation. Then we could talk about what game engine to use and stuff like that. But that's not the problem. The problem is leadership and vision. And that's what's been lacking. So, what do you guys think? And I look forward to your comments. And listen, take it as a sort of a fun type of way to address this issue, right? Don't take it too seriously. Anyway, that's it. So I was not really hired. I hope that 704 doesn't have a problem with. It's sort of a fantasy video. It's not meant to be anything derogatory on them or whoever's really making the decisions on the direction of the game. I do think that's where the problem lies. I'm not trying to attack anyone, but I hope people take this as lighthearted and stuff and tell me what you think. So I look forward to your comments.